The exile of Lord Ram plunged the entire kingdom of Ayodhya into deep mourning. For his younger brother Lakshman, the grief was immediately replaced by a vow to follow Ram into the wilderness. But fulfilling his duty as a loyal brother created a massive conflict. To guard Ram in exile, Lakshman had to leave his wife, Urmila, behind for 14 years. When he went to ask for her forgiveness, Urmila didn't plead or cry. She refused to let her presence distract him from his mission. She stayed back in the palace, telling him that she wanted to be his strength, not an obstacle on his path. Devotion doesn't always look like following someone into the fire. Sometimes it demands the choice of stepping aside entirely so the other person can fulfill their purpose. Once in the dark, hostile wilderness, Lakshman began his watch. The environment was unforgiving, and danger lurked in every shadow. But his plan to guard his brother and sister-in-law 24 hours a day ran into a massive, insurmountable problem: human biology. Total protection requires eliminating sleep. No human can stay awake for 14 years. Within days of total sleep deprivation, the mind fractures. Eventually, the brain and body simply collapse under the neurological strain. Lakshman's willpower was absolute, but it was on a direct collision course with the unbreakable laws of human nature. On those terrifying first nights in the forest, nature pushed back. Nidra Devi, the goddess of sleep, manifested before him. She delivered a strict ultimatum. Rest is a universal requirement for all living organisms. The laws of nature cannot be bypassed by sheer determination. Lakshman begged for a 14-year exemption. He argued his divine duty to protect his family superseded his biological necessity to sleep. This animated scale illustrates the mechanics of what happened next: cosmic accounting. Nature operates on a strict ledger. A 14-year biological debt cannot simply be erased from the universe, but it can be transferred to a willing proxy. To become physically invincible in the forest, Lakshman needed someone else to absorb his mortal vulnerability. Hundreds of miles away, in the dead of night, the goddess arrived at the quiet palace in Ayodhya to present this massive burden to Urmila. Urmila embraced the burden. She viewed this 14-year slumber not as a curse, but as an empowering privilege. She gladly took on her husband's exhaustion so he could stay on his feet. This creates a fascinating paradox of duty. Her complete, passive stillness acts as the direct fuel for his relentless, active vigilance. Without her sleeping, he cannot fight. Through this immense sacrifice, the distance between them vanished. They were operating as a single, biologically linked organism, executing one unified mission. Years later, the war in Lanka reaches its climax. The ultimate threat is Meghnad, a terrifying demon warrior who decimates entire armies. Meghnad holds a specific mythological loophole. He is completely invincible in combat, save for one condition. He can only be killed by a man who has completely conquered sleep for 14 straight years. Lakshman steps onto the battlefield, faces Meghnad, and strikes the fatal blow, fulfilling a prophecy everyone believed was physically impossible. The strike that ended Meghnad's life was only possible because of the endurance Lakshman had cultivated in Ayodhya 14 years earlier. Lakshman is the one who swung the weapon, but Urmila's 14 years of unyielding sleep provided the actual power to make that weapon connect. When you look past the clashing armies, the Ramayana reveals a second narrative hidden in the empty rooms of the palace. Urmila's Mahatyag proves that absolute, passive stillness holds just as much weight as the fiercest active combat. History records the clash of weapons and the names of warriors, but the strength to stand on the battlefield often comes from the silent, agonizing endurance of those who remain out of sight.